For most of its citizens, Appleton, Wisconsin is a great place to live. Appleton and the Fox Cities area are home to over 70,000 people. Over 91% of them are white. Most people enjoy downtown Appleton with a sense of safety and security. For the other 9%, Appleton can be a very different place.
I was at one of our middle schools and I had a African-American girl in the group that I was talking to, and I looked at her and I said, so, you know, how are you doing? How do you like Appleton? How's your family doing? And she told the story of my mom and dad brought us here from Milwaukee because they wanted to be somewhere that they felt was more safe. And then she went on to say, but we don't feel very welcome here, and they're thinking about moving. And that just broke my heart. We've got to do something about this. It's not right.
You know, for the majority of the community, Appleton seems to be a great place to live, but for some individuals, it isn't the most welcoming place.
One incident that I'll never forget that just actually recently happened. I was walking back from my core meeting and this red car comes like driving by really slow, and it seemed like a very intentional act. And so they rolled by and they said, "You go suck that fat cock, you nigger."
The issue of people of color not feeling comfortable in downtown Appleton because of racial slurs being directed their way came to my attention a couple years ago. I was shocked. And I was upset. And I think back about, why didn't I know about this?
Those stories that we hear from those individuals, I think, are frustrating because it isn't what we want Appleton to be.
So I think as a person of color living in Appleton, there's definitely always like a continual adjustment that I have to do, kind of adjusting like myself and who I am. Because I remember like recently I was at like a meeting for work and this lady like asked how to pronounce my name, and she, after I like said it to her like how to pronounce it, she was like, "Oh yeah, you gotta like be patient with me, like that stuff is scary, like we don't have these names up here."
There's some very blatant racism and there's also microaggressions.
So what happens is I get in my car, I go to the gas station. Right there, a racial microaggression is going to take place, and this has happened where not only in the store is there a representation of the Confederate flag, but there's these all lives matter. Then there's I'll shoot first and ask later. Boom. So then I'm hit with that. Now I have to feel kind of like on guard. So then I get into my car, I'm on my way to work, and I see a cop. So the cop follows me, not intentional, but right there, that's going to get me really like riled. It's just going to get me scared. So eventually I get to the office, I get to my parking lot, and now I'm like really up in guard because now I have to cross the street. And I already know that there's a huge chance that somebody is gonna say the N-word when I cross the street, or I might get hit. And now my mental health is kind of like, it's playing with me because I've seen too many of these racial microaggressions taking place.
We know of stories like that. We know of stories where people just automatically come up and touch a black woman's hair. People might not think that's racism, but that's outright racism, that somebody thinks they have the right to a black woman's body.
I think when I hear things like that, it makes me uneasy a little bit. Like I kind of don't know how to react to it. I don't know how to like I don't know how I should feel about it.
What happens is it basically breaks down their psyche. So basically it can cause them to go into depression. And it can cause them to go into anxiety because of just this sense of not feeling important, not feeling as a human, and not feeling as if anyone cares about you. On a professional level, seeing the students of color that I see, their mental health is really declining because of that.
The issue of racism is complex and it affects everyone in a community, regardless of skin color. At times, racism can be upfront and very dangerous.
It was New Year's Eve, and we had went downtown to get food from a Mr. Taco.
We'd first entered into Mr. Taco, trying to get through all of these people.
This one guy who was of African American descent, he comes up to my friend. He starts, kind of getting really close to her, almost, spitting in her food.
And then it kind of escalated from me to asking him to move to, like, within 2 minutes, he was calling me the N-word lover, and he was calling Danny racial slurs.
I remember there being a lot of, white females with him, and they ended up joining in on the racial slurs.
So we had gotten up, and they had followed us. I remember security pushing Danny. As I was walking out, I remember getting slammed into the side of the wall and my hair was getting pulled. And we walked out and I had lost Danny. There was like 10 of them and they had surrounded both of us. I had turned around to see where my friend was and somebody had whacked me in the face.
They pushed me on the floor for some reason. I didn't say anything aside from, hey, can you guys stop?
The hate, I remember telling my friend sitting down that night for like 3 hours saying, I don't understand where hate like that comes from.
You see, because racist is not genetic, it's taught. And if we can just somehow move away from that nonsense.
After experiencing racism on campus and in the community, students at Lawrence University decided to take action.
Because we are constantly met with the idea that Lawrence wants us here, but they're doing nothing to keep us here.
Multiple times crossing College Avenue on my way home, I've heard racial slurs screamed at me from cars.
And I just felt this constant fear for my faith and for my body.
And we told him we were part of the Afro-Caribbean Club, and he asked us, how do you become a member? Do you have to climb a tree or something like that?
Can't you take a joke? It's literally just a joke.
Sticks his hands into my fro and mangles my head around.
To be on a campus where it's supposed to be a safe place away from home, we feel really unsafe.
We, the students of color at Lawrence University, refuse to live on a campus where racism, hatred, and bigotry occur on a daily basis. We demand that Lawrence University become a place of inclusion, safety, and support for marginalized groups. We, as the institution of Lawrence University, will and can do better than this. We have drafted a list of demands and concerns that we want implemented and addressed immediately.
A student came and saw me during open office hours and invited me to a meeting, and that then turned into a meeting where the demands were submitted. And I think what was most meaningful to me for that night was experiences that students were willing to share with me. They were powerful, and I think that they very clearly illustrated how we as an institution can do a lot better than we're doing right now.
Are there still those who would like to see us return to days of yesteryear? Yeah, there are those in this community, but those individuals exist in all communities.
Change is hard for any community, and we see this on college campuses across the country, as well as the municipalities where these institutions are located.
My hope is that white folks start to get it, like really start to want to get it, that racism exists, it's concrete, it's here. And in order for us to really combat that, we have to acknowledge that and then move from there.
We wouldn't be doing all of this work if we weren't hopeful for any change at all. This is a movement that is done for the future Laurentians who come here because we don't want them to have the same experiences that we did.